Welcome back to the UIS Coaches Show. I'm Michael Iota. It was a busy weekend at track. The UIS men's basketball team hosted the Midwest Region crossover events with Upper Iowa, Parkside, and Roosevelt. And while it was a busy weekend, it was also a successful weekend for the Prairie Stars, who finished a 2-0 record to start their 24-25 campaign. We are pleased to be joined by head coach Matt Brock. Matt, thanks for hopping on. Great weekend.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it was. Our guys, they played really hard, played really well, and very pleased with the defensive end especially. I thought we played good defensively in two different tempos. Like Saturday night was a little faster, and Sunday slowed down a little bit, and we were able to defend at a high level in both. So very pleased with our defense.
Yeah, obviously one of the big things we talked about in the broadcast was, the loss of Jordan Rice this year, not being able to, play. How was the point guard situation going to look, right? That was one big thing. And we had an impressive weekend looking at a trio of guys, Ty Banks and Britt Dutton and
Braden
McLaughlin. Yeah, your redshirt freshman. All three really impressive to us. What'd you think about how they handled that workload this weekend?
Yeah, no, Braden and Ty have kind of been battling, and they've been making each other better every day. Both of them play extremely hard. Both of them are big and strong and physical on defense, and I think that's a good thing. Then offensively, I think Ty had 14 points on Saturday night. Yeah. Kind of got going a little bit in transition, got to the rim a little bit, and Braden hit some open threes on Sunday. So very pleased with both of those guys. They're only going to keep getting better. They're both workers and very coachable and want to learn and want to watch film and continue to get better. But yeah, definitely encouraged by those guys. That was probably our biggest unknown going into the weekend.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's talk a little bit about the games, separately here. Roosevelt, the first game, I thought you guys were really efficient offensively. I thought, in their zone, you did a great job of getting the ball to the middle of the floor where a lot of offensive opportunities opened up. What were your thoughts a little bit about that Roosevelt game and how good you guys were offensively?
The first game's tough because you have zero film and you're going off of last year's game film, and they only had a couple guys back from that team, and it was a really good team. So a lot of unknowns. We did know that they were about 33% of the time they played zone, and they weren't quite as big as us. So in the back of my mind, I thought they might play a lot of zone, and it turns out they did. And we did a good job of moving it against the zone and getting the ball inside of it and kicking it out and getting a little high-low action. So I thought our guys handled that well. They're pretty dynamic at the guard spots. In the second half, when the game gets spread out a little bit, they're a little more. They attack a little quicker. I thought we didn't control tempo quite as well there, but it's the first game of the year and it's a good home crowd and guys were excited to play. So overall good. I think there's definitely some things to build on, but I thought our gap presence and our protection of the paint was really strong.
Yeah, no doubt. And then, like you said, Sunday, completely different style. A 60-43 win over a good Wisconsin Parkside team we saw from there. Defense was the name of the game there, Coach. We were on the second half. We were on the sideline where Parkside was playing offense, and we mentioned 5 or 6 times, I think the shot clock got under 5 on that. I know a lot of times people look at it and say defense is all about steals and turnovers, but you guys made it incredibly difficult on Parkside and just really guarded really, really well. What were your thoughts on your team's effort, especially defensively on Sunday?
Yeah, I think we had a little bit of extra motivation with Parkside because they knocked us off last year and we didn't defend very well at all in that game. So, part of it was late night Saturday night and you're coming back to Sunday and both teams were a little tired. You could see that maybe in the first half and then definitely in the second half early in the season. But I think part of that was we were playing so hard. Our guys were playing super hard defensively for, like you said, some longer defensive possessions. So that kind of wears you out a little bit too. But, very pleased. I haven't checked. I think that's got to be one of, if not the lowest point total we've had defensively against a Division II opponent. So very pleased with that. It was, and actually we were fairly efficient offensively. It was a 55 possession game compared to a 77 possession game. So you're talking about offense and defense, 44 possession difference in the games. It was quite a contrast, but being able to win a faster paced game and a really slow paced game is encouraging going forward.
Yeah, that's a great sign, no doubt. We saw over the weekend your depth. Your depth is so good this year. You have a lot of players that can come off the bench and make impacts and make contributions. Let's talk about the challenge of that a little bit, though, right? How long does it take to really get that depth to where you get everybody in the roles and you kind of know what you want out of them? They know what they're supposed to do as far as their role goes. What is kind of the timeline as a coach for that, and how do you kind of go through navigating that process?
Well, I think it's kind of ongoing because you have practice, and practice is one thing, and we stat it, and we do a lot of live basketball in practice. But when the lights are on and the popcorn's popping, things are a little bit different. And then when you're playing other teams, not just playing yourself, that makes things a little bit different. So as you play, you kind of figure it out. I think those first three guys off the bench, Ty, Nate, and Isaiah, were really positive from a plus-minus standpoint on Sunday especially. So I really liked what those guys did when they came in the first half and when they came in the second half. So, but Colin Schuler, you mentioned Britton Dutton. We've got some other guys that are definitely we're going to need at some point in this season, and so they're practicing extremely hard and practicing well, and we're going to be ready for their opportunity when it rises. So it's a kind of an evolution. It's November, early November, so we're trying to become the best team we can be in February and March, but at the same time, these games are very important.
Yeah, no doubt. Midwest Regional Crossover, there's a lot of action across, the region, not just here in Springfield. And the GLVC, we're looking at the records the other day, showed very, very well as far as just some head-to-heads against the GLIAC, GMAC, and such. But one team that didn't really have trouble with the GLVC was Northern Michigan. They had a really impressive win up in Wisconsin Dells over Maryville and UMSL last weekend. That is our next opponent coming up this Saturday. So it seems like a good test on a neutral site. Tell us a little bit about the challenge Northern Michigan will bring.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was pleased to see the league do as well as we did. I wasn't surprised. Our league is so strong top to bottom. And outside of 3 teams going 0-2, I think we were 19-1. So that's a really good record against those other 2 leagues. So Northern Michigan is the best team we've played to date. Extremely strong. An NCAA tournament team last year, one of the best teams in our region. They've got a forward, Dylan Cool, who's extremely talented. He can score it in a variety of ways. They got a veteran point guard that can shoot the ball. They've got some new guys that give them a little dynamic element. So they run some really, really good stuff. They run some really good offense that's hard to guard. So it's going to be a big challenge for us. One I think our guys are hungry for and hopefully are going to be prepared for. But it's going to be a good game no matter what. It's the kind of game, it's going to be a high-level GLVC type game. We're going up to Wisconsin Dells, which is kind of a pseudo-home game for them. But we're excited to get Max and Braden back in their home state, especially Max. This is kind of his homecoming game. To get to play in front of their fans too.
Yeah, nice. Would you think of this game as like kind of a barometer game to kind of see where your team is at versus that, or do you believe in that in early November? Or kind of tell us a little bit about, sometimes teams do that, right, and kind of want to gauge where they're at. Do you see that at all this week?
I mean, I think every day is a barometer day. Okay. I think if you're going to be a really good team, you're going to be consistent, and so you don't want to just play up to your competition and play down to your competition, or really play well. Obviously, it's going to be a big test. I think they're like I said, I think they're the best team we've played to date. They beat UMSL pretty easily. They beat Maryville fairly handily. So, yeah, it's an important game. But again, it's one of 28 on the regular season, and they're all big. And whether we win or whether we lose, we got to continue to get better going forward. So, I think every game you learn about yourself, and every game presents different challenges. And so you kind of get to see a different style of offense, a different style of defense, and how does that affect UIS and who we are right now. And you learn, and you say, okay, well, we need to work on this, or we need to improve on that. And so that's the fun part about basketball is it's constantly changing, and there's constant room for improvement, and there's constant ability to adjust things and make yourself better. So that's the fun part.
Yeah, and it'd be a great game just for the simple fact of getting some good competition and being able to see that, because we're 2 weeks away from having a GLVC matchup coming in. So that's going to be huge for you guys to make sure that you guys are ready for league play comes. So yeah, the Stars, Matt Rock, they 2-0 this weekend. They will start 3 p.m. on Saturday against Northern Michigan. Again, that game is up in Wisconsin Dells. It'll be a neutral site game for the Stars. But Matt, thanks for joining us today. Good luck this weekend. For Michael Leota, this is the UIS Coaches Show.